They say love is blind, but I wasn't blind. I was hopeful. His name was Ryan, and when we first met, he had this quiet charm that made you feel seen, noticed. We met at a bookstore, both reaching for the same tattered copy of Catcher in the Rye. He let me have it, joking, ladies first, even when it's Salinger. I laughed. That was all it took. Coffee dates turned into dinner dates. Compliments poured in like honey. You're different, he'd say. You make me want to be better. I believed him. God, I wanted to believe him. For the first 6 months, it felt like a dream. I was in love with who I thought he was. It didn't happen all at once. That's the thing no one tells you about toxic relationships. The unraveling is slow, almost imperceptible, like a thread pulled loose at the hem, until one day, the whole garment falls apart. Ryan started getting distant, short-tempered. He'd criticize the way I dressed, the books I read, even the way I laughed. "You're too much sometimes," he'd mutter. Or, worse, "No wonder your friends don't stick around." I tried harder, made his favorite dinners, left sweet notes on his mirror. But the more I gave, the colder he became. And I told myself, it's just a phase. He's stressed. He loves me. He has to. But then came the isolation. Subtle at first. He didn't like my best friend, Maya. Said she was a bad influence. "She's always single for a reason," he'd sneer. When I spent time with her, he'd sulk for hours, accusing me of caring more about her than him. Slowly, I stopped texting her. Then my family. Then everyone else. My world shrunk until it was just him. His moods, his needs, his silence. He never hit me, never screamed. But the emotional bruises were harder to see, harder to explain. I began to doubt my own worth, my sanity. I remember looking in the mirror one morning and barely recognizing the woman staring back at me. Tired, hollow, dimming. One night, after a particularly brutal argument where he blamed me for making him angry, I locked myself in the bathroom and slid down the cold tile wall, shaking. I whispered, "God, if you're listening, please help me. I don't know who I am anymore." That prayer was raw, unfiltered. It was the first time in a long time I admitted that I needed saving, not from Ryan, but from the shell I had become. I didn't hear a voice. There was no thunderous sign, but I felt something shift, a small, flickering awareness that this wasn't love. This was control, and I deserved more. The moment that finally shattered the illusion came not with a scream, but a silence. It was our anniversary. I had cooked his favorite meal, lit candles, even wore the dress he once said made me look like someone worth taking out. He walked in late, reeking of whiskey, looked around the room, and said, "What's all this for?" My heart sank. I said, "It's our anniversary, Ryan." He rolled his eyes and muttered, "You're exhausting." Then he walked into the bedroom and slammed the door. I stood there, surrounded by candlelight and cold food, and something in me snapped. I didn't cry. I didn't plead. I turned off the lights, packed a small bag, and walked out. I had no plan, just a whisper of courage and a car with half a tank of gas. I drove aimlessly through the night, ending up at a roadside motel a few towns away. The neon sign buzzed faintly above the lobby door. Inside, the clerk didn't ask questions, just slid a key across the counter. Room 8. It smelled of old carpet and stale air, but it was mine for the night. I collapsed onto the bed, shoes still on, and stared at the ceiling fan spinning like my thoughts. For the first time in months, I slept without fear. The next morning, I called Maya. My voice trembled. I left him. There was a pause. Then her voice cracked through tears. I'm so proud of you. Come home. We'll figure this out together. Maya took me in without hesitation. Her apartment was cluttered but warm, full of mismatched cushions and the scent of cinnamon tea. She didn't press me for details. She just listened. Held my hand, let me cry. We made a list on her kitchen table, things to change my number, talk to a lawyer, find a new job. It felt overwhelming, but also empowering. Each item we checked off felt like reclaiming a piece of myself. I got a temp job at a local art gallery. Nothing glamorous, but it paid the bills. And more importantly, it surrounded me with color, creativity, and quiet. I began to heal. I started journaling every morning before work, just a few pages. But through those words, I met myself again. I wrote about the girl who used to sing in the shower, who danced in grocery aisles, who believed in love. Not just the romantic kind, but the gentle, nourishing kind that lifts rather than breaks. I realized how much I had given away trying to keep Ryan happy. My voice, my light. But slowly, I was getting it back. One morning, I looked at my reflection and saw her, the real me, and I smiled. 6 months later, I was helping hang a new exhibit when he walked in. Not Ryan, someone new. He had kind eyes and a nervous energy that reminded me of fresh air after a storm. His name was Luke. He was an artist, quiet but thoughtful. We started talking about the piece I was adjusting, and before I knew it, we were laughing. A week later, he came back. Then again. Eventually, he asked me to coffee. My first instinct was fear, but I said yes. And it wasn't like before. There were no grand gestures, no rush, just conversation, space, respect. He never made me feel small. He made me feel seen. Luke became my friend before he became anything else. We walked through farmers' markets, watched old movies, painted pottery terribly. I told him about Ryan one night, expecting him to pull away. Instead, he listened quietly, then said, "That's not love, but you know that now, and that makes you strong." With Luke, love wasn't fireworks. It was a steady warmth, like sunlight through a window. He didn't try to fix me. He just stood beside me as I fixed myself. And one day, I realized I didn't flinch when someone raised their voice nearby. I didn't apologize for existing. I was free. A year after I walked out on Ryan, I stood in front of my own apartment, plants on the balcony, and books stacked by the window. Maya and I remained close, but I had carved out a space that was fully mine. Luke was there, helping hang a new painting he'd made just for me, a swirling burst of yellows and blues. "It reminds me of you," he said, "bright, brave." I kissed him then, not because I needed him to save me, but because I chose him. I chose love that felt like coming home. The kind I thought didn't exist. But it does, and it begins when you finally decide that you deserve better. Because you do. We all do.